Hello everyone, I welcome you all to Civils Mentorship. So today we will continue with session 2 of Think, Write, Score UPSC Mains Answer Writing. So in yesterday's video, we had covered two sections of it. So one is why UPSC Mains is a different beast. So in this section, whatever we had discussed is that means we need to have a whatever answer writing that we did in our school days or in our college days. UPSC is entirely different ball game. So the answer writing that we need to do for our UPSC journey or our UPSC mains exam is entirely different than what we used to write during our college days. How we used to approach the paper was entirely different. So that was the thing that we had discussed in this section. And next is the mindset shift. Now, what was the thing about the mindset shift? It's simple is that we need to change our thought process when we are writing an answer for our UPSC exams. So we need to change the thought process. So the thought process, how we used to write our paper in during our college days. So that thought process will not work in this particular exam. So those are the things that we had discussed over there. So in this video, we will be discussing two sections over here. One is section 3, where we will see the seeing through the examiner's eyes. As we had already discussed in yesterday's video that whatever answers that we will be writing in this particular exam, it will not be for us. It will be for the examiner. So that's why it's very important to know that how examiners think or what is the expectation of the examiner from us. And next section, which is very important, is decoding the question. So sometimes aspirants writes answers and think that he had written a brilliant answer. So that's absolutely correct. For according to the aspirant should get out means if it's a 10 marker question, aspirant should be getting 6 or 7 out of 10. But the thing is that when he realized that he actually did not answer whatever was asked for. So that's why the decoding the question is very much important. If you cannot answer the demand or what exactly the question is demanding for, then it's of no use to write that particular answer. So whatever we need to write, it should be based on the demand the question is asking for. So these are the two sections that we will be discussing it today. So let's jump into the first section, which is seeing through the examiner's eyes. So what does this means? So as we had already discussed it as, so basically it is nothing but we need to understand what the examiner is looking for when they read our answers. So basically it's nothing but the examiner's perspective. So that's what it's seeing through the examiner's eyes. Now, an examiner, while evaluating a paper, he might be having certain parameters based on which an examiner is evaluating the paper. What are those? Now, there are multiple parameters, but these are few of the important ones. What are those? Now, relevance, coverage, depth, structure, and presentation. Now, let's understand each one of this in the upcoming slides. First is relevance. So what exactly relevance means? Now relevance means how much our answer directly addresses what's being asked. So this is very much important. So we need to answer what has been asked for. Say for example, let's suppose a question is examine the challenges in India's electoral reforms. So what is the demand of the question? Now we need to address the challenges in India's electoral reforms. Now let's suppose there are two aspirants who is writing the answer for this particular question. Now this is aspirant 1 who has written one answer. What aspirant has written? Aspirant 1 has written. Now elections are the backbone of democracy. Now democracy is a Greek word meaning rule of the people. India adopted democracy after independence in 1947. The Election Commission was established under Article 324. So this is one answer, or this is the answer of aspirant 1. Let's see what aspirant 2 has written. Aspirant 2 has written, India's electoral reforms face multiple challenges, including criminalization of politics, with over 40% of MPs having declared criminal cases, lack of state funding leading to black money in elections, inadequate inner party democracy. So these are the two answers. Now you guess, or now you judge which is the relevant answer for the question, or out of these two answers, which answer is directly addressing the question. What was my question? Now question was, examine the challenges in India's electoral reforms. So in aspirant one's answer, does anywhere in the answer he has addressed the question? No. Then whatever answer he might have written, he will not get the correct marks, or he will not get marks for the question. Now what aspirant 2 has written? Aspirant 2 has directly addressed the question. So basically, aspirant 1 has wasted half of the answer, half of the page, okay, without addressing the question itself. The question is asking for challenges, but he has written about history definition. Whereas aspirant 2, who has written directly, he went on to the question. Directly he addressed the question itself. So that's why obviously this answer is appropriate. So I hope you understood that what does the term relevance means. So relevance is directly you are addressing the question. Okay. Now next comes coverage. So what is coverage? Coverage means whether you have touched upon all the dimensions of the question or not. So that is what coverage means. Now let's take an example. Discuss the significance of digital economy in post-pandemic recovery. So what is the question? Now discuss the significance of digital economy in post-pandemic recovery. Now see, again there are two answers. Let's see what are those answers. First answer. Now digital economy helped businesses survive during lockdowns through e-commerce. Digital payments increased, online services grew, IT sector contributed to GDP. So this is the answer that has been written for the question that discuss the significance of digital economy in post-pandemic recovery. So if you go through the answer, you will see that it's an incomplete coverage. Now answer is focused only on the economic perspective, economic aspects only, because it's clearly mentioned that digital economy helped businesses survive during lockdowns through e-commerce. So entire focus is on economic perspective. Now see the second answer. What's the second answer? Now second answer is digital economy became crucial for post-pandemic recovery across multiple fronts. Across multiple fronts. That means the aspirant has covered all the aspects, has tried to cover all the aspects of this particular question. How? Economically, what was the challenge, or what was the significance economically from economic perspective? Now through e-commerce and digital MSMEs enabling business continuity. Now, from social perspective, what he has written, now through telemedicine and online education ensuring service delivery. Now, governmentally, through digital governance reducing contact-based transactions, but also highlighted the challenges also, like digital divide, especially in rural areas, cyber security concerns and job losses in traditional sectors. Now, can you understand the difference between the two answers? So what was the question? Now discuss the significance of digital economy in post-pandemic recovery. Now significance of digital economy is not only from economic perspective, it's from the social perspective, from governance perspective. So there are multiple stakeholder perspective we need to we need to write the answer for. So the first answer does not convey all those perspectives. It only sticks with the economic perspective. But the second answer conveys all the perspectives. So the second answer covers economic, social, governance. Along with that, slight part of challenge dimensions also. So that means it's a comprehensive coverage. So that is what the term coverage means. So you are addressing the question from all perspective. Third part is depth. Now what does depth means? Depth means you are not being superficial. Okay? Let's take an example. Say for example, there are two answers, okay? Shallow answer and answer with depth. Shallow answer is farmer suicides are a major problem in India. Debt is the main cause. Government should provide loan waivers. Okay? So, from the answer only we can understand that it's a superficial answer. That's on the top of the hat, the answer has been written. But if I come to the second answer. So what does the second answer says? Now farmer suicides particularly concentrated in cotton growing regions like Vidarbha and Telangana, stem from a complex interplay of factors. What are those? Now, dependence on rain fed agriculture, high cost inputs like BT cotton seeds, volatile market prices, lack of crop insurance penetration, inadequate institutional credit, forcing dependence on informal lenders at usurious rates, while loan waivers provide temporary reliefs. Now see, the aspirant has given the remedies also or the solutions also. Means though the solutions are given, but he is addressing the entire picture. They don't address structural issues like what? Now fragmented land holdings, weak agricultural extension services, or the need for crop diversification and price stabilization mechanisms like MSP reforms. So from the both the answers we can see that the first answer is on a superficial manner only because everything is on a high level. Whereas the second answer, the answer is entirely in depth in nature. So that means the answer has been written in a very holistic manner. So from here only you could see the difference. Where the second answer shows you have gone beyond textbook knowledge. You have cited specific regions also like Vidarbha, Telangana. Given data also like 30% of the farmers has been covered in the crop insurance. So that means there is a lack of crop insurance penetration. Identified the root causes and why superficial solutions will not work. Because it's been mentioned at the end that though the loan waivers was given for temporary relief, but it does not address the structural issues like what? Now, like fragmented land holdings, weak agricultural extension way services, or the need for crop diversification, and all of this. So, this shows depth. But whereas the previous answer, that is the first answer, does not shows the depth. So, this is what the depth means. Now, coming to the next part. So, next part is all about the structure. And this is very important. What does structure means? Structure means that it should be, your answer should be in a logical flow. That so that the examiner can follow your thought process effortlessly. Because he is not aware of you, right? The examiner is not aware of you. So, how will he come to know about you? Only through your paper, whatever you have written. So, that's why structure is very important so that examiner can follow your thought process effortlessly. Now let's understand this with an example. Now see, first one, what is being written? Now technology in agriculture is important because why? Now it increases productivity and farmers can benefit from it. And precision agriculture uses what? Now GPS and sensors and drones can monitor crops, and India has schemes like digital agriculture mission, and challenges include cost and awareness, and small farmers cannot afford internet connectivity is poor in villages, training is needed, government should subsidize technology. So everything has been written over here. Whatever knowledge the aspirant had, everything has been written over here. But is it written in a structured manner? No. So for me also, it's means for anyone who is evaluating this particular answer will face certain issue to understand the flow of the answer. So then this is absolutely wrong. You should not write your answer in this manner. Now let's see how a structured answer looks like. Now see, the same answer, whatever was written in previously, the same answer has been written but in a structured manner. First, introduction has been given that agricultural technology is crucial for enhancing productivity and farmer incomes, especially given India's challenge of feeding 1.4 billion people with shrinking land holdings. So a definite introduction has been given. Next, benefits has been given. That means the answer has been segregated into multiple parts. So first introduction was given, then benefits was given, then government initiative, then the challenges, and finally the way forward. Now if you compare this with the first answer, now in the first answer also all these details were there. See, first of all, see what was there over here. Now, technology in agriculture is important because it increases productivity and farmers can benefit from increases productivity. That means this is the introduction part. Second is the benefits part. Farmers can benefit from it, and precision agriculture uses GPS and sensors and drones, can monitor crops. So the benefits were given. Government initiatives are also mentioned, like India has schemes like Digital Agriculture Mission. Challenges were also mentioned, like include cost and awareness, and small farmers cannot afford, and internet connectivity is poor in villages. Now, way forward is also given. Training is needed and government should subsidize technology. So everything was there in the first answer as well. But the only difference between the first answer and the second answer is the second answer is much more in a organized manner. If you see, everything is a different perspective in an organized manner only. First of all, introduction was there, then benefits was there, then government initiative, then challenges, then way forward. So this is all about the structure. The second answer is much more in an organized, scannable and easy to evaluate. So this is what about a structure is. So hope you understood the thing about structure. Now next comes presentation. What does the word presentation means? Now presentation is nothing but how your answer is visually appealing. So presentation means your answer needs to be visually appealing. So that's what presentation is. Now let's understand this with an example. Say for example, the question is, discuss the challenges in implementing the smart cities mission in India. So let's see what does the word presentation means. So the question was that discuss the challenges in implementing the smart cities mission in India. Now see, this is one way of presenting your answer, that you are writing everything in a paragraph manner. But if you but is it visible but is it visibly appealing? No. So that means this is not visually appealing also. So obviously you will not get marks for it. Now evaluator needs to work hard in order to give you marks. So that's not your work. Your work is to make the evaluator's work easy. Now see the second method. Now see how the second answer has been written. Everything in a presentable manner. See, first of all, the introduction was given, and then all the challenges, financial constraints, capacity and skill deficit, institutional coordination issues. And next, and finally, we are ending the answer with the way forward as well. So this is what visually appealing. But the previous answer, it was not at all visually appealing. So if you are an evaluator, which one will you prefer? So obviously the second one, we will prefer the second one only, because the first one, it might be the both the answers, the content wise it is same, but the difference lies in the presentation. So that's why I am keep on repeating that how much easier you make for the examiner, more marks you will get. So visual appeal matters. Now, content wise, an answer looks good, okay, but that gets content wise, it is same for both the question, for both the answers. But if it's visually appealing, that answer looks good. And if it gets more attention, then you will obviously get good marks. That's the human psychology. So finally, when you will write an answer, constantly ask yourself, if I were the examiner, suppose if you have written the answer and you are evaluating it, don't evaluate from your perspective, evaluate it from the examiner's perspective. Thinking that the examiner is reading suppose the 50th copy for the day. So would this answer make me stop and think that this is good or not? If you think that that answer is easy to evaluate, easy to stand out, that answer is good, then you are on the right track. So this was all about the section 3, where it is important to understand the examiner's mindset. That is looking through the examiner's eyes. Now the most important section. Out of all these sections, so for me this is the most important section. What is that? Not decoding the question, which is the most underrated skill. So decoding the question. So here's a mistake almost every aspirant makes at some point or the other in their preparation. They start writing without fully understanding the question. So what you need to do is that first of all, writing answers without fully understanding the question is absolutely wrong. So first of all, what you need to do? Let's understand, but before that, we will jump into a question and see. See, for example, a question from UPSC 2021 paper only. What was the question? Now discuss the desirability of greater representation to women in the higher judiciary to ensure what? Now diversity, equity and inclusiveness. So this was the question. Now, an aspirant reads this and thinks that, oh, so this is about a woman representation. I know this, and starts writing that women representation in India is very low. Only 11% women in parliament. Panchayati Raj has 33% reservation. Women face discrimination, gender gap in education and employment. But do you think that the question was really about women representation? No. Why? Because it's clearly mentioned over here that discuss the desirability of greater representation in women. Where? In the higher judiciary. So that means they are not asking for the women representation in generic perspective. They are asking from the higher judiciary perspective. So this happens, why? Because the aspirant did not decode the question properly. So just seeing the question in a superficial manner will not help you. So question decoding is the single most important skill in answer writing. And it starts with what? Now identifying the directive. So identifying the directive means what? Let's understand. First of all, we need to understand the directives. What is that? So we will go through an example. So first of all, the example is discuss. If you go through your previous year question, you will see that in few of the questions at the end it is written as discuss. Let's take an example. Question was that discuss the role of civil society in strengthening the democracy. So this is the question. What in these type of questions means where the discuss is mentioned, what you need to write is you need to present your answer from multiple perspectives. That means you need to present your answer from multiple stakeholders' perspectives or multiple dimensions. Say for example in this question that discuss the role of civil society in strengthening democracy. You need to write about how civil society strengthens democracy, like it acts as the watchdog function, social movements, policy advocacy like RTI campaigns, and also you need to mention about the limitations or challenges. Say for example, NGOs sometimes lacking accountability, foreign funding controversies, elite capture of civil society discourse. So, whenever the term discuss is mentioned, you need to discuss it not only from one perspective, but you need to discuss it from multiple perspectives. So, that is what the keyword discuss means. Now, next comes analyze. So, what does the term analyze means? Analyze is you need to break down the word, or you need to break down the question into multiple components and examine the relationships. Say, for example, the question is analyze the causes of India's agrarian distress. So, you need to analyze. So, that means they have mentioned that there is agrarian distress, but you need to analyze that what are the causes behind it. So, your first task is to break it down. Simply, your first task is just break down the question. So, that means you need to break it down into multiple perspectives again. Say, for example, agricultural causes like MSP inadequacy, crop diversification failure, then economic causes, because obviously there will not be any particular cause, any single cause behind the agrarian distress. There should be multiple causes. So you need to break it down into different causes. Like over here, you are breaking it down into agricultural causes, economic causes, environmental causes, then policy causes, then social causes, then you are interconnecting all of them. For example, how climate change increases crop failure, then which increases debt, which leads to distress migration. So this is all about the interconnection. So I hope you understood this particular point about analyze, where you are breaking down the components and then you are interconnecting one another. Next comes critically examine or critically evaluate. Now, what does this means? Now, critically examine or critically evaluate means you need to present both the strength and weaknesses and then you judge. Say, for example, a question is critically examine the Supreme Court's judgment on Sabarimala temple. So, whenever the critically examine or critically evaluate type of question comes, your first task is to you need to present arguments supporting the judgment. Like suppose for in this case, you can mention about the constitutional right to equality under Article 14, gender justice, religious reform precedents like a Shabano case, and also you need to put arguments against the judgment like right to religious freedom under Article 25, essential religious practices, and at the end of your answer you need to take a balanced take on balancing the fundamental rights with religious freedoms. So I hope you understood this particular keyword as well, where at the beginning you need to, whatever the statement that has been given, you need to put forward your arguments supporting the statement, and also you need to put a counter arguments to it, and then at the end you need to create a balanced take. So that's all about the critically examine or critically evaluate. Now let's go with the next one. Say for example, comment is mentioned. Now what does the word comment means? Comment is nuts it simple that you need to give your own perspectives, not anyone else's perspective. You need to give your own perspective, but with a solid justification behind it. Say for example, a question is that comment on the statement what? Now the Indian economy is consumption driven rather than investment driven. So I hope you understood the question that the Indian economy is consumption driven rather than investment driven. So how you need to approach this particular question? Now either you agree to this statement or you disagree to this statement. Whatever it is, you need to back it with reasoning. Say for example, in this question you are saying that the statement holds considerable merit. That means you are not fully disagreeing to this statement, and also you are not fully agreeing to the statement as well, but it holds a considerable merit. That means you are more inclined to agreeing with this statement. So now you need to give the reasons for that why you are agreeing to this statement. So this is all about comment. Comment is you need to give your own perspective with a proper justification for that. So this is all about comment. Now next comes elucidate. Elucidate means you need to explain clearly with examples. That's it. Say for example, the question comes is elucidate the concept of cooperative federalism with examples from recent initiatives. So see, in the question only they have mentioned that first of all you need to explain the concept of cooperative federalism, and then with examples from recent initiatives. So that means elucidate is nothing but you need to give the concept about certain thing with with examples. That's it. So how to approach for this particular question? Now you can explain about cooperative federalism or what cooperative federalism means, uh, like center and states working together, and give concrete examples like GST Council, where both center and states jointly decides the tax rates, Niti Aayog replacing Planning Commission for collaborative policy making, interstate water disputes tribunals, and etc. etc. So basic funda of this term elucidate is you need to explain clearly with examples. That's it. So now I hope you understood these common keywords, because if you don't decode the directives correctly, your entire answer goes off track. As we saw in the first example, right, where it was clearly mentioned that women representation from judiciary perspective, but the aspirant has written the women's representation in a normal perspective, in a generic perspective it was being written. So this is all about the identifying the keywords, understanding the keywords. Next comes identifying keywords and dimensions. What does this mean? You need to understand or you need to identify the keywords in a question. So let's understand this with the help of a question. Say for example, the question is discuss the potential of digital technology in rural development. So what are the keywords in this question? First keyword is digital technology and rural development. So what are the aspects, or how you should cover all the aspects? So you understood the keywords. What were the keywords in the question? Now potential, that means you need to answer your question from the in a positive mindset. That means your answer should be in a positive frame. So what are the keywords? Now keywords are digital technology and rural development. So that's it. Now, what are the aspects you might be covering in this particular question? That you might cover from the agriculture perspective, education perspective, healthcare perspective, financial inclusion perspective, governance perspective, and parallelly you can mention about the challenges as well. So these are all the perspectives to which you can cover up this particular question. So if you miss the dimension, suppose example, if you miss to understand the keywords and the dimensions, then your answer will remain incomplete, right? So examiner will think that it's a limited perspective. Say for example, in this same question only, you missed out on the healthcare perspective. Suppose for example, you missed out on this healthcare perspective. You have written all the perspectives, but you have missed out in the healthcare perspective. So, does digital technology will not help from the healthcare perspective? Obviously, it will help, right? So, that means it's a miss from your end. So, that's why understanding the dimension is very much important. Next is very important point. That is the spotting the hidden demands. Now, what does this means? Spotting the hidden demand means, again, we will understand with the help of an example. So, what does this means? Say for example, the question is examine the issue of custodial violence in India. So from the question only, there are two types of demand. Okay, one is the explicit demand and the other one is the hidden demands. So what is the explicit demand from the question of the question? So from this question only we can understand that basically we need to discuss about the custodial violence. Like what are the things we need to discuss over here? Now what does the word custodial violence means? means what are the extent to it, and we can give certain examples to it. But what are the hidden demands? That means if you miss those things, you will not get the appropriate marks over here. So what are the hidden demands for it? First of all, what the examiner is expecting from you. He is expecting certain constitutional provisions related to custodial violence. Now, what does this means? It's nothing but you need to mention about Article 21, that is right to life, Article 22, that is protection against arrest, and all those things. Next is you need to mention about certain legal safeguards. Now, legal safeguard means what? Like DK Basu guidelines, NHRC role, Section 330 of IPC. Now, see, now whatever I have given over here is just for understanding purpose. So now IPC is not there, so Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita is there, so the section will change. And it will be very much efficient if we can give certain recent cases as well. And next, we need to give certain systemic reforms needed, that we need to mention about certain reforms as well, like police reforms, independent investigation agencies, and all those things. So these are the hidden demands. That means these are not been asked in the question, but you need to mention it. If you just describe the custodial violence without connecting it to constitutional rights and reforms, you are missing what UPSC is expecting from you. So this is all about the hidden demand. So let's understand through another example. Suppose, for example, the question was, should the constitution be amended to allow simultaneous elections in India? Critically evaluate. Now, suppose an aspirant has written that simultaneous elections, and what does this means? Now, suppose an aspirant reads that simultaneous elections is there. So simply he has started with that simultaneous elections means holding Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha elections together. This was practiced till 1967. It will reduce cost. Election Commission said it will save 4,500 crore. Model Code of Conduct affects governance. Therefore, we should have simultaneous elections. So this aspirant missed the directive itself, because the directive was critically evaluate. But instead of critically evaluating, he has written only from one side, one perspective. So critically evaluate means you need to give about the pros and cons of simultaneous elections. And then you need to give a balanced approach, and then you need to give a balanced decision about it. So this is how you need to write the answer. So that means the pros and cons, it was not mentioned, but these are all the hidden demands. So that is all about the hidden demands. Next is decoded answer structure. So this we have already discussed, that how our answer structure should be. That instead of writing everything in one paragraph, you need to write under certain subheadings like introduction, arguments in favor, arguments against, international examples if the question demands for. And then we can end it with a way forward or a conclusion. So this is all about the decoding the structure. Obviously, it will help. So if you decode or if you write an answer in a structured manner, entire approach will be changed. So these are all the demands, or these are all the things which which we often miss. So this was all about this particular section. Finally, lastly, we need to understand this, that this is the golden rule, okay? If you get the question, so I will suggest you during the exam also, once you get the question, don't rush into the answer. Just go through the question properly. You underline the directive, circle the keywords, and mentally list out all the dimensions. Then even if it takes 1 minute of time, that 1 minute will help you to structure your answer, which will finally help you to score more marks about. So this is all about this particular section as well. So in the next video, we will continue from the next sections. Thank you.